Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Keeping It Real with Najeh Wilkins. This is episode two. Hoping you guys have been enjoying episode one. Today on tap, I have Buford softball coach Trent Adams. I also have Melissa Hall for Lambert volleyball, and I'm going to conclude with Kandra Bailey, Kell, women's basketball coach. So I'm very excited. Another great episode. Hope everybody's having a good week. Make sure you guys tune into scoreatl.com, dropping some articles on there. I just dropped my game of the week preview. I thought it was really good with Milton and Lambert. That game will be tomorrow, Friday for the region championships. You guys check that out. And also, we'll have Craig on tomorrow. He'll be having his show, the drive for the state title, GHSA. I'll try to make an appearance on there, and we'll be talking some football tomorrow with some big games on the line, region championships. So you guys make sure you tap in and tune in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Trent Adams from Buford. How you doing,
Hey,
Coach?
how are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm doing
I'm
all
glad
right
to
and
have you
myself.
on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I've kind of found out some of my research that you've been coaching for about 16 years, maybe more than that at Buford. What have you enjoyed the most about coaching throughout your career?
Yeah, I've been at Buford 17 years. The best thing I like about it is building a relationship with the kids and stuff.
Yes, sir. And then for you, when you guys won this state title, was this the most talented team that you've seen in your years of coaching?
We've won 11 state championships while I've been here, and we've had some very, very talented teams. It definitely ranks up there with some of the most talented teams for sure.
Yes, sir. And for you, you kind of made your mark on defense. What do you love most about that side of the ball? And you've kind of been revered as kind of having a defensive and an offensive mind. But I want to start with defense first. What do you enjoy most about coaching defense, and why is that kind of where you make your hay at?
I just feel like you got to be good on defense. We really, really take pride in our defensive practices, and majority of our practices are towards defense. I just feel like when you can shut the team down or they're hitting and you can play left and right on them, and it gets them to where they feel, man, we can't do nothing to get on and shut down in big with us. And I don't know. I've always just really, really enjoyed defense.
Yes, sir. And then for you, do you employ any kind of different strategies defensively? Do you just kind of rotate players around? You just kind of stay with what you got, like in the infield and the outfield, whenever you're playing, or is there anything specifically you like to, put in your players or tell them to do in order for it to kind of, go together cohesively, like well defensively?
It starts with chemistry, and in the locker room, we want to be great in the locker room. And that pours over. But at practice, we try to do a very up tempo practice. We want to put as much pressure on them. We want the pace to be uncomfortable. So hopefully, it helps the game slow down. We put different scenarios on our defensive drills to where if they don't make so many outs and so much time that they got to run what we call a 300, which is 50 yards down, 50 yards back 3 times. And so that helps a lot as far as pressure, game pressure. We try to install that in our practices.
Yes, sir. And then for you, what kind of did you employ offensively? What are some things that you would have, happen in practice? What are some things your go-tos offensively? If you see a batter kind of in a rut, let's say they're 0 for 8, 0 for 9. What do you tell them to kind of get them going and get out of that rut and being able to hit the ball better?
Just offensively, it's mental. This game is mental as any game out there, and don't start stressing over it too much. Be 0 for 3 and then get something going the next game. Uh, don't put as much pressure on yourself as what we try to install in them. We do a lot of angle hitting. We try to build a lot of confidence. We hit a lot this year on the field. We took a lot of BP on the field, and we're one that I just want to put as much pressure on the defense as we can as far as small ball game or running. We're going to get.
Yes, sir. And for you, what did it mean to you? Obviously, you've been at Buford for a long time, but what did it mean for you bringing another state title to Buford? Was it any more special? What did it mean to your girls? How special was that moment, capturing that and winning it all?
It was an awesome feeling. We were happy for our community, our school, our city. Um, it had been since 16 since we won it, and we had rode off 10 in a row. But people, they think once we lost it, like, oh my gosh, what's happened? It's so hard to, especially in this game in baseball. It's just hard to repeat that many years. You step back and look at it, and you're amazed even more. But each one of them were special. This team was definitely special, being the head coach. But every one of those championships was special, and just to do it for our city was, and at the highest classification in Georgia, was awesome.
Yes, sir. And you got to tell me, Coach, what is in that Buford water? I mean, you got the softball, you got the football, volleyball is going to be playing in the state championship game. What's going on over there? I talked to Coach Applin earlier this year, but it seems like you guys, year in, year out, no matter what sport, you guys are competing at the highest class. You were 6A last year, now you're up to 7A. Just tell me what's going on in Buford.
I don't know, man. It's awesome. We got some great student athletes, and facility wise, our city, what they do for the student athletes and our board of education and central office, and what they do for our student athletes is just amazing. Listen. This is year 17 for me at Buford, and it still blows me away how much they put into these kids.
Yes, sir. And then let's talk a little bit about the season and the journey. I want to talk about Lambert. They were your only loss all season. They played you guys in I believe two playoff games. How good was that program, and how much of a challenge were they matching up with them in those games?
Oh, they were big and super sectional. We matched up with them, and their pitcher did an unbelievable job spinning it, controlling the play, changing, going east, west, north, south on us, changing speeds on us. She did a really, really good job. And then that was Thursday, and then we had to come back Friday and win three, and we took care of business first game, and then we had to double dip them twice, and they're a great team. She did an unbelievable job in the circle again and hitting wise. But, our girls just locked in. They knew we had to take it one game at a time. I told them if we could win that first one against them, I felt like the pressure went back to them, to Lambert. And so, we pulled it out. It was it was some kind of pressure, and I really feel like it prepared us for Columbus as well.
Yes, sir. And then it was another game that stood out to me too. It was the battle of kind of the unbeaten's. You guys played North Gwinnett. Gower was 2 for 2 with two RBIs. Castoria was 1 for 2, and Pickens was 1 for 2. In that game, what did they really mean to you in that game, and how were your girls able to kind of pull that game out versus North Gwinnett, a really good softball team as well.
Yes, North Gwinnett, was last year 7A state champions, and they're tenants down the road from us. And so we played them our year. I felt like I knew that they would be there. Them and East Coweta would be in Columbus. It was a big hit. Gower come up with a big hit at the time, and our girls, they locked in that game. They were really, really which with North Gwinnett, it's always a rival game with us, but our girls really dialed it in, and Caroline was good in the Caroline Stanton was good in the circle for us, and we got that timely hit when we needed it.
Yes, sir. And obviously, I don't want to differentiate anybody. Obviously, your girls played together this is a team sport. Your girls played together as a whole well. But who were some of those players this year for you? We'll start offensively and transition defensively. That just kind of stood out. Who was like an offensive standout that you needed that person to kind of come through. They came through.
Um, our freshman Caroline Stanton had a big year offensively for sure. She led the team with home runs. I think she ended up with 14 home runs on the season, hit three down in Columbus. Um, both the twins, the Pickens twins, had great years, a great year for us offensively. Adriana Martinez really come up big for us, and throughout the season with some really clutch big hits. Um, Tavy Borders did a good job creating down in Columbus. She batted over 500 down there. She really did a good job. Izzy Rediger had an awesome year for us as well. Our senior Emma Castori, offensively, caught on fire down at Columbus. So that's kind of some of our standouts offensively.
And then how about on the defensive side of the ball? Was it the pitchers you had to kind of rotate in your bullpen? Was it an outfielder, your infielders, your shortstop? who were some difference makers on that side of the ball as well?
Well, our corners did a really good job, especially Emma Castori at third base. She's in my 17 years here, she's got some of the best hands I've seen, and gets rid of the ball really, really quick, which is what you got to have at third base. Our middle did a good job this year. Outfield did a good job. Our pitching staff was really good with Olivia Duncan, Caroline Stanton, and Emma Grace Williams. They did a really, really good job in the circle for us. Uh, our team ERA was, golly, it was like 1.12. I think we set a record for strikeouts per game, runs allowed. We did set a record for that. The staff was really, really good. And like I said, we really take pride in our defense. So we really want to be good on defense, and it showed this year.
Yes, sir. And then, from all the battles, the adversity you and your girls faced all year, what do you kind of hope, you could even say it's a life lesson. What do you hope they kind of took away from this year, the seniors, and then obviously building on and going into the next year, some of your returning players, you mentioned some of the freshmen that play really well for you and some of those other players.
Yeah, our seniors, we've always talked around here like you're going to be as good as your seniors, and our four seniors did a really good job on the field and in the locker room leading as well. And then, we're returning a five juniors, I think it is, two sophomores, and a couple freshmen. Our freshman class is pretty strong. And Caroline, she had a big year. I feel really good about what we got coming up in the future for sure.
Yes, sir. And then, with that, looking not too far ahead into the season, but you just said it, do you know like the schedule, what the schedule will be for next year yet, or not yet?
No, actually, I got the region schedule today, but we'll try to schedule hard. We always believe in trying to schedule it, put the best schedule we can because that prepares. Just like this year, we had a tough schedule. We want to play say they are around us and the best in the state, and it prepares us for the playoffs and definitely prepares us for Columbus. So we try to schedule as hard as we can.
Yes, sir. And you've made it a point throughout our interview today how important defense is to you. And we saw it throughout the year, 23 games you had this year where you allowed one run or less, setting records with the ERA and things like that. Just what did it mean to you to see that consistency from your girls, just to have that potent of a defense all season long? It's something you could depend on. It's kind of, if something wasn't going right offensively, that defense was going to step up.
Yeah, for sure. And they did. They did an amazing job. And we made some plays in that championship game that, I look back on, we worked on, and all the stuff we talk about on defense, it showed up, especially during that championship game.
Yes, sir. And just a couple more questions, Coach, before I let you get out of here. What was your favorite moment? I feel like, every like state title team or whenever you're on a winning, a championship team, there's always a moment that it's like, okay, this really made the difference. Like I knew we were going to be special. What was that moment for you this season? You were like, okay, these girls get it. Like we could really be special this year.
I would say earlier in the year, we were down to which is one of our region opponents. We got down 4-0 in the first inning, but we didn't panic. We didn't start pressing at the plate and trying to do too much. I felt like I told one of the assistant coaches that I felt like we got something special here because we came back from that and held on at the end. I felt like that game was where I felt like we had something special going.
Yes, sir. And for you, Coach, you've been coaching for such a long time. I think I asked a little bit about it in the opening, but what's just your favorite thing about coaching? I mean, sometimes you have coaches in, they can't really resonate with their players, but it seems like you resonate very well. You have a great, strong defensive mind. Just what's your favorite thing about coaching, and what's kind of that impact you want to leave, on your players and things like that?
I feel relationships with the players is what it's all about to me. I've always, in my mind, this is just that, when you get invited, you and your wife get invited to weddings of former players, or she gets invited to baby showers, or, in baseball, I get invited to weddings and things like that, family cookouts, whatever it may be. Just I feel like you've made an impact, you've made a connection, and when you get those kind of things going, you know you've done something right.
Yes, sir. And final kind of question, Coach, before I let you get out of here, you know, without revealing too much, what's one thing you're excited about next season, and what can we expect from you for softball, kind of going into next year?
About what we're learning, I'm excited about the class coming up. Seniors are a very special group to me. I feel like we'll be there. You get the ball about your way. You got to stay healthy. That's for sure. We had this year. We had some sickness going on during the super sectionals, but overall we stayed healthy, and that's it. I can't wait. I actually did a lineup the other day and left it on the counter. And my wife was like, "What are you doing?" Lineup for next year, but and so I'm always trying to think ahead, but I want to
Oh
enjoy
man.
this season, the championship, and these players and these seniors.
Yes, sir. A true coach. Already planning ahead. Wife's like, you just won. Why are you planning
Yeah,
ahead? No, definitely. You're a
yeah.
true
She's like,
coach.
"Oh my god." Yeah, yeah. That's
Yes,
it.
sir. Well, thanks again, Coach Adams, for coming on. I hope to have you
Yes,
on next
sir.
season when I do the show. It was a pleasure talking to you, learning a little bit more about your team.
All right, I sure do appreciate you. Thanks for covering our sport.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, that is Coach Adams. Great run for them as far as softball goes. They did some great things this season. 23 games allowed, one runner less. He talked about some of the key components for them and, why they were able to pull off the victory. Only loss was to Lambert, who was a really good team, did a good job switching things up pitching wise with the bullpen. So I think that really made a difference, and you saw them win it all. And like I said, I had to ask them, there's something different about that Buford water. We see right now the Buford football team pretty much is revered as the number one team in the state. Their volleyball team will be in the state title game. So, year in year out, Buford's always there. No matter if they move up classification or if they move down in classification, Buford is always there. So, pleasure talking to Trent Adams and finding more about the team. Can't wait to kind of cover them a little bit more next year. But guys, that is it for guest one. We'll be right back after commercial break from NFHS, and we'll see you on the second segment. All right, guys, we are back. I will be having on the second guest, Miss Melissa Hall. Pleasure to kind of talk to her. We'll basically be getting into, again, Buford, who they're going to face in the volleyball championship game. But Lambert's having a phenomenal season. They have some great players. They were, able to kind of get the monkey off their back. They defeated Walton after three straight losses. So I'm gonna, definitely ask her about that. Being able to get that kind of monkey off their back. Some of the really talented players, Molly Patton, Jordan White, very great, very good team. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about them and what's been the level of focus this week for them. What has her message been with a big game on the line and a state title as well. So do we have her? Yeah, not yet. Okay, so still waiting on coach. But yeah, I'm really excited to learn about their team and how they've been kind of prepping. So we're gonna go ahead and talk to her right now. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining the show. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So for you, just kind of an icebreaker question. How long have you been coaching the sport of volleyball, and what is your favorite thing about the sport?
Well, I've been coaching at Lambert for 11 years. I played collegiately and was a graduate assistant for 1 year and realized right away that I did not enjoy coaching. And so I didn't get back into coaching until later in my years playing when she was in third grade. So just 11 years at Lambert. The thing I like most about the sport is there's a way to still really be feminine. There's a still really be fierce and competitive all at one time while playing the sport. And I think it's a fun sport to watch as well.
Yes, and obviously before we kind of preview this matchup against Buford, what is one thing you're hoping your girls can kind of take away from this season, and kind of just learn from you that, whether it's a life lesson they can kind of apply or just what you hope they kind of take away from this season?
It's been a remarkable season. Last year we were so close as well. We wound up in the Elite Eight with Walton, state championship. This season we kind of built it around being really mentally tough. Our schedule was very, very competitive early on. We faced some of the top teams in the state. In August, we traveled out of state to Tennessee to the Tournament of Champions, and we were tested very early. And I think it really helped us to grow and hopefully peak at the right time with all those early challenges that we had in the season.
Yes, ma'am. And then, Coach, you guys rattled off 19 straight victories since your last loss. I mean, an incredible run. What has allowed you guys to just lock in? You just mentioned the mental toughness, kind of having that mental focus, but what has been the critical part of the season that's just allowed you guys to like kind of just lock in, like, okay, we're playing some tough opponents, but it doesn't matter. We're going out here with victories and wins.
That was the great thing about how difficult our season was in August. We had a few losses, very close losses to top teams. We just couldn't get over the hump in a few of those games. I think we lost by 2 points in maybe 3 of those matches. Once we went to Guntersville, I guess it was over Labor Day break, we played top teams from Georgia, Tennessee, all in that area. It was 6 matches in one day. We ended up winning the silver bracket. We went 5-1. And I really think it was when the girls showed so much grit, determination. We're able to win those 3-set matches that we had lost in August. And it seemed to be a turning point in the season. And we haven't lost since Guntersville. So that's also pretty
Yes,
cool.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then how nice was it? You mentioned Walton opening, but how nice was it to get that monkey off your back? I mean, losses to them 2018, 2019, 2021, but finally able to get over it, get over that hump with them. How nice was that?
It was absolutely incredible. Walton is a dynasty program in 7A in Georgia. Suzanne Fitzgerald has really built a great program. My daughter actually played for her in club ball. So, I know a lot about that program, and we seem to face them Elite Eight, Final Four, years and years and years. So it was really special to get hump and to play as well as we did on a big stage like that. I give all the kudos to the girls for staying mentally in after that first set loss and then really coming out strong sets 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, and you mentioned it again, mental toughness, mental focus. But I seen just looking at your schedule, you had a couple, maybe multiple games in there. You may lose the first set, but then you guys just come out firing. So after that first set's over, what are you telling your girls to just kind of rally them and say, oh, hey, look, we got this. We're talented. We can do this. What is your message to them to kind of get them to get over that hump of an adversity of losing that first set?
Well, this team has been really good about making adjustments after the first set, blocking matchups, knowing where the holes are on the other team, making sure that we're defending or changing our defensive schemes. They're really good at adjusting mid-game. Probably the best team I've ever coached. So we don't get that first set because we know that A, we can make adjustments, and B, they're in incredible shape. They're in really, really good physical condition. Our practices are challenging, and we also have an incredible sports performance program that's led by Curtis Matera at Lambert. And his investment in our female sports, both mentally, physically, with weight training, our girls have benefited that like I can't even describe.
And tell me just a little bit more about kind of that program. Sometimes you can see teams, as you mentioned, just kind of slow down. They're mentally tired, mentally fatigued, and they'll just kind of, as soon as they hit that wall, that's it. But your girls continue to kind of break through that wall. So just walk me through some of the things your program does from a conditioning standpoint, sports performance standpoint, that is kind of differentiate you guys to where you are right now.
When I played collegiately, my I guess she was my assistant coach. She was an All-American powerlifter. So she instilled in my team way back in the day the importance of strength training and conditioning. We conditioned constantly. Once I stopped playing, I became a group fitness instructor, and I was always involved in barbell classes, HIIT classes, those kinds of things. So once I started coaching, I really embedded those things in practices. Our practices have a ton of embedded conditioning. Also during the day, I'd say about 90% of our girls are a part of the advanced female weight training program. I'm in there with Coach Mater. He has built a program of female, I guess, female weightlifters. Lots of power lifts, cleans, squats, bench. He's taught them proper technique, and he's also, does some pyramidation with them, where we're training at certain periods in our season to get the most out of the postseason play. There's also mental challenges with weight training, and he's the best in the business through with maxing and getting mental weight room.
Yes, ma'am. And not to talk too much about Walton, but just one more question. You mentioned them being kind of a super dynasty program. You mentioned your daughter playing club volleyball kind of under Susan Fitzgerald. But what does she do just as a coach that makes her so different, that makes her programs up there every year, year in, year out? Because I read something that said if they would have advanced against you guys, they would have been the 11th championship since 2010, excuse me. So what just allows her to be so good as a coach in that kind of program?
One thing I've admired about Suzanne, she comes from a military background, so discipline, I would say, is the key to her programs. Her expectations are high, and if you don't meet those expectations, you're not going to succeed. She is demanding, but again, the discipline and the focus that she instills in those players at Walton has really worked for her through the years. And it doesn't hurt when you coach club and kids, want to gravitate, towards that coach that you've already had. She's had some really outstanding teams and players throughout the years.
Yes, ma'am. Now I want to talk about your team, Molly Patton. She's 6'6", hits the ball extremely well. She leads you in kills per set, kill percentage, hit percentage, and is second in blocks. Like, what does she bring first offensively to the team? And then after that, that next question, what does she bring defensively to your team?
MK is just a powerhouse. She was a tennis player originally. And then, with tennis, there's a lot of lateral movements. So she transitioned very well. I believe it was in 8th grade to volleyball. She's been with us on the varsity team for 4 years. She has grown so much just with strength, flexibility, movement. She's a great athlete, high volleyball IQ. And it doesn't hurt that she's 6'6". I mean, that's going to help you in anything in athletics in high school. She has such a high reach that she's able to hit over blockers, hit around blockers very easily. And then she's such an imposing force when she's blocking other hitters. She closes well. She seals the block well. And, she's intimidating at the net. But she's just come on so strong this year and is really a force within the state.
Yes, and then one that leads you in total blocks, your senior Jordan White. She's having a great season. And that game against I think it was Lawrence. She had 13 kills, 7 blocks, 6'3". Just kind of tell me a little bit about her impact and how the senior's been playing for you this season.
Jordan has been amazing. This has been by far her best season. Her work in the weight room, the explosiveness that she's shown this year, and her confidence on the court. She plays high-level club ball just like MK does as well. She's committed to Tulane, and she's been preparing for that, for the last couple years. Jordan has really become a powerhouse hitting. Blocking, she was always great. She was a good hitter, but now she has so many more tools in her arsenal and can go left, can go right, tips well. But one thing that I am always amazed, she is really good at the service line. She's got a nasty serve, and that requires her to play defense at 6'3", and she comes in and digs balls that half rotation, and she loves that part of the game. She's really improved there.
Yes, and then before we kind of break down the championship game, what should we watch for you guys in that one and kind of against Buford? And what is something we should keep our eyes on?
Things that we've really been working on and have been succeeding in for the later part of the season is a very balanced offense. We've got MK, as you mentioned before, our Georgia commit. We've got Jordan. We've also got Ella Byer and Danny Cortez on the outside. And then this year we gained a real big asset. Calissa Taggart is a freshman. She plays right side and also sets for us. Claire Jenkins runs our offense. She's been two-time Region Setter of the Year, high volleyball IQ. She's able to really pick apart defenses, split the blocks so our hitters have one-on-one opportunities. So that's really what we're focusing on, is making sure that we have a balanced offense and that we can control their hitters, and they've got some great hitters on that team.
Yes, ma'am. Now let's go back kind of to that beginning of the schedule. We talked a little bit about it, but I mean, okay, you got Buford on top for Saturday. You've played non-region schedule-wise, 7A semifinalists, North Gwinnett, 6A finalists, Sequoyah and Pope, 6A semifinalists, North Forsyth and Johns Creek. So with all the adversity you face, the mental touches you alluded to, do you think your team feels more prepared kind of going into this championship round and the championship matchup against Buford and contend for that title?
I feel like we're more prepared than any team that we've ever had go through this system. I have girls that have played varsity for 4 years now. So, the getting to the Elite Eight, the getting to the Final Four, they've been so close they could taste it. And now I really feel the confidence and the grit is there. And I think that this is the most prepared team that we've ever had at this point.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you faced Buford earlier this year. You lost in 2 sets, but both of those sets were really close. And specifically that game, what stood out to you? What can you peel from that game that can help you, knowing kind of maybe their strategies, knowing their tendencies potentially, that can help you kind of win this game?
We used a different defensive scheme early on in the season. We've adjusted things a little bit defensively, which I think is going to they have a really strong middle attack. We worked a lot in practice on defending the middle. Their outside hitter, both outside hitters are very talented, so blocking is really going to be the key. We're a different team than we were at All City Playdate, where that loss occurred along with the loss to Pope. We're a different team now. I think that we own time and different defensive schemes. We're setting up a little bit differently, and I think we're prepared for Saturday.
Yes, ma'am. And in your opinion, you hinted on a couple of things. What does Lambert need to do to defeat Buford and, kind of win the title? You mentioned the blocking.
We're definitely going to we're going to have to spread our offense. We're going to have everybody contributing, which they have all season. But we're going to have to shut down their very forceful offense. They've got two great outsides. Their middles are strong as well. So it's a lot that we're going to have to take on. But we've got to play our game and focus on what we do well and then try to stop what we're going to be coming out.
Yes, ma'am. Now, for volleyball, just kind of clue me in just a little bit. When you have like great talent like a Molly Patton or Jordan White, if they're tired, sometimes you see players, they don't want to come off the court, they don't want to come off the field. Do you like kind of spell them for a second and have somebody sub for them and then have them kind of come back in just so they can kind of recalibrate, kind of get their energy back? Or do you just let your stars or just let them just kind of just play through it and you just depend on them to be at their best? Like when you're a coach, like how do you kind of discern what to do in that situation?
That's actually a really good question. Volleyball is a different sport where we've got our two middles, Jordan and MK. They only play front row. Jordan plays a half a rotation back row. It's funny, my son was at one of the matches and MK would get a kill and then she'd immediately come off the court. And he's like, what is going on? Why are you taking her out? And he didn't understand that we have back row players that play as well. So they do get that little reprieve whenever they go through that front row rotation. Players like Danny Cortez, she's a 6 rotation outside. Francesca Popescu, who is our incredible libero, she plays all the time except for a half rotation. They're in great condition. I don't worry about them getting tired in the least. But there's a natural break for the middles once they come off the front row.
Yes, ma'am. And then for you, a more of a personal question, like, do you watch college volleyball? And then if you do you have a favorite team or favorite players you kind of like to watch and, maybe even use some different, things to incorporate into high school volleyball?
Yeah. Well, my daughter plays collegiately, so I watch a lot of college. She played for me here at Atlanta. I love watching, all the teams locally. I love watching Georgia, love watching Florida. But so we do watch a lot of collegiate volleyball. Having played collegiately, my husband loves the sport. When we won, I guess it was the Elite Eight. He was willing to drive all the way over to Brookwood to watch them play, drive all the way across town to scout Walton. We've been a volleyball family since I started coaching again 11 years ago, and it's just in our blood. We really enjoy it.
Yes, ma'am. Now, you've played collegiate volleyball. Your daughter's playing it. Are there any big stark distinctions between college volleyball and kind of high school? Sometimes you see other sports, there's a kind of a drop off, or it'll kind of be like a difference, or is it kind of on the same playing field?
The concepts are the same, obviously, and the strategy is the same. It's the pace and the strength, and the power is very different at the college level. Um, we play a little bit of old school volleyball where we have two setters that are on the court at the same time. And in a collegiate game, normally the libero will take the second ball. Um, it's just faster and it's a little bit more powerful at the collegiate level. But like I said, the strategy, the concepts, everything is the same. And we've got some really high level players in Georgia. So many that are going to play Division I and Power Five conferences. It's really grown in Georgia, and you can see how that's going to progress to the collegiate level.
Yes, ma'am. And final question, Coach, before I let you get out of here, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to your team to host that first state title in Lambert history?
It's hard to even describe. These girls have worked, many of them since they were freshmen at the varsity level. Our seniors haven't lost a region match the entire career that they've had here at Lambert. So this is something that they have been striving for and wanting, and the vision that they've created so many years in a row. It would be so special for these seniors to be the first team here at Lambert in the volleyball program to get a state title.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for joining the show. Good luck on Saturday to you and your team. I'll be watching, and hope you guys are able to come out with a victory. That would be awesome for your program.
Can't thank you enough for having me. I really appreciate it, and hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em. All right, Coach. Definitely try to have you on
Thanks.
again. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. All right, guys. So that was Coach Melissa Hall. Enjoyed talking to her. Very great segment, I thought. And again, I believe, looking at my show notes here, I think Lambert softball also defeated earlier this season Buford. So Lambert, yes, they did. So Lambert has a little something special going into in their program. So they got the volleyball team is facing Buford in the state title game of volleyball. Their softball team was able to defeat Buford earlier in the softball season. And then now you have Buford, who's undefeated right now at 9-0 in football, and they're going to be facing Milton in a region championship game at home. So Lambert has been doing some great things this year. We're seeing that turnaround with that program, and they're playing exceptionally well. So, guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break from NFHS, and we'll be back on the other side with Kandra Bailey. All right, guys, we are back. We're going to be talking to Kandra Bailey. She is the coach for Kell. She's been there for 2 years now. Last year, they had a close semifinal loss to Sequoyah, 40-38. She also was able to take a discovery program in her years there to their first playoff appearance in school history. She has a rich background in coaching. I believe when she was in Tennessee, she was 80-24 record. So I'm curious to kind of talk a little bit more to her why she decided to take that Kell job, about a year and a half ago, and kind of look at her team and see some players we should keep our eyes on for the season. So, should we have her yet? No. Okay. But yes, Kell's a good team. Definitely really excited. They're in 5A this year. I believe last year they were in 6A. So, you see Kell again just to kind of, juxtapose the two. Kell football has had a good season. They are undefeated to start. And again, another program that I'm really excited to see in their women's basketball. I think they have some great talent on their team. But yes, I'm interested to learn more about them. Their non-region schedule we could talk a little bit about. Westlake, Langston Hughes, Madison County, Hoover, Griffin. Seems kind of a gauntlet of a schedule, but when you're playing and you want to get to those deep playoff rounds and you want to contend for a title, you have to play kind of teams like this. And we know Langston Hughes is another team that's always in it. Same with Westlake, they're pretty good year in, year out. They were able to get Micaiah Harris kind of in the transfer window from Marietta, so I'm curious to see what she's going to be able to bring to the team. I kind of want to know what players they were able to return back to the roster this year. So a bunch of things, for Kell, but should be a really good interview with her. So definitely really excited about that. Not yet. Okay. All right. Gotcha. But yes, so we were able to talk to Buford softball coach. They were able to win the title. Trent Adams has been coaching for such a long time. It's really good. Um, Hold on. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Trying to get this next guest on. All right. All right. Just sent that email over. But yes, definitely was excited to talk to him. And then, volleyball wise, sport I'm kind of getting more into. It was crazy. 6'6", Molly Patton, really good with, blocking the ball. Jordan White, same thing. So, I think we're in for a good volleyball match. I wouldn't be surprised if, one of these teams won 3-2. I think both teams are really talented on Buford's side and for Lambert's side. They finally were able to get that monkey off their back, defeat Walton, who's a stellar program. They lost to them in three almost consecutive seasons, 2018, 2019, and 2021. So they were kind of able to get over that hump a little bit. But I think that's only going to add more fuel for them. They had a really tough non-region schedule, as we talked about. They played 6A semifinalists. They played North Gwinnett. Okay, did we have her? All right, great. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you coming on today. Very excited to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So let's talk about your tenure in Tennessee. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but you spent 4 seasons as a coach at Pearl Con High School in Nashville, Tennessee. You led them to an 80-24 record, made the playoffs every season. You earned District and Metro Nashville Coach of the Year awards, as well as the Nipper Hancock Sportsmanship Awards. Tell me about your experience there. How cool was it to have so much winning in Tennessee?
Yeah, I was at Pearl-Cohn for 4 years. That school already had a winning tradition before I got there. The football team's been successful. The girls' basketball team had had success in the past. So when I got there, was my very first head coaching job, very first job as a full-time teacher. So a little stressful at first, but those girls worked super hard. Still in touch with a lot of those girls. We've got a couple still playing in college right now. That was just a really good way to start my career and, have athletes that are just as motivated as you are. And so I just continue to build off of that to where I am today.
Right, and then after Pearl-Cohn, you come to Georgia. You're the coach at Discovery. You lead them to their first state playoff appearance there, your 41-34 record. How was it kind of coaching that program, and was it kind of similar to Pearl-Cohn, or what were some of the similarities and the kind of differences there, and what did you enjoy about being at Discovery?
Georgia basketball is different. It's much different than Tennessee. One of the reasons I came down here because so many people spoke highly of girls basketball in the state of Georgia. So going to Discovery, you're in Gwinnett County, you're in one of the largest counties in Georgia. You've got resources. That was the big difference. The facilities were impeccable. We didn't have that in Nashville. We didn't have booster clubs in Nashville. So a lot of things that I wasn't used to in Tennessee, we did have down here. Different type of kids at that school than the kids that were I had at Procom, but still kids that work hard, still kids that wanted to be successful on and off the court and that wanted to play basketball at the next level. So that was my first taste of Georgia basketball, and you come down to a new state, and then you jump right into 7A. You know, I'm playing Norcross, North Gwinnett, Collins Hill. So that was a great experience, and just, I mean, I don't think anything can prepare you for coaching basketball in the state of Georgia, but it definitely, I feel like made me a better coach.
Right. And then for you, what do you love most about coaching? What is something you enjoy about doing it? Sometimes you can see coaches, they resonate with the players, they don't, but it seems like you do. And what are some things you love about it?
I think the thing I love most about coaching is the relationships that I have with my players. Like I said, I talked to my kids that I coached years ago. That's super important to me. I love winning basketball games. I love being successful, but I want them to know that they still have me in their life when they graduate, after they graduate, when they're at the next steps of their career. That's super important to me, knowing that they can always call me whenever they need me, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now. That's probably my number one thing.
Right. Now let's look at last year. Very close semifinal loss to Sequoyah, 2 point loss to them. What do you think your girls learned from that game, and what really stood out um, that you can kind of take from that game and you could bring into this season and kind of just build on that?
How to handle adversity, I would say. We played some tough games. We played some tough teams. We saw some different defenses. We saw some different offenses. But, how to handle adversity when things aren't going your way, how to still keep your head up when your shots aren't falling, or, when you're getting frustrated. I think that's the biggest thing that we learned. So now we've got kind of a chip on our shoulder because obviously we had high expectations for ourselves last year, and we didn't meet those expectations. So now, we have that to look at, and that's our motivation for this season. Most of my girls are seniors. They've been just so close every single time. They've done state runner-up, Elite Eight, then last year Final Four. So it's like it's now or never for them. So I think that's the motivating factor for my team this season for sure.
For sure. And you mentioned you're returning a lot of seniors. Obviously, who are some players we should look out for you this year? Who are some of those girls that's going to be in that, well, if you set your starting line, who's going to be some girls kind of in that starting lineup, and what would this mean to your teams kind of coming into the season?
Definitely. I'm sure everyone knows Crystal Henderson. She's an elite point guard. She's definitely the floor general for us. And then Jada Green, my post player, I think she's slept on by a lot of people. She does the dirty work. She's down there getting rebounds. She's setting good screens. She's on the floor every game. She really is like the cleanup for us. And then on the wing, of course, we've got Jada Peterson, who shoots the ball very well, handles the ball, attacks the rim well. We've got Micaiah Harris that transferred over from Marietta, who gives us a little bit more depth at the guard position. And then Jemiah Gregory only played half a season last year due to some complications, but she's back and healthy this year, so I think she'll give us a lot this year.
For sure. And then for you, we can start offensively, then go to defense. As a coach, what kind of strategy do you like to employ when you got great players like a Crystal Henderson, Micaiah Harris coming in for depth, and then you're getting that player back, your junior back, I think her name is, you said, Jayla Green, just kind of slept on. Do you just get a ball to kind of your star players? Do you like to play offensively, more perimeter shooting? Do you like to feed the post? Like, what are some things you like to do offensively?
We do it all. Obviously, there's a lot of freedom within our offense. So I try to tell my kids not to play like robots. We have the offense, we have a system, but like be able to create your shot out of that system. So we'll go inside, we'll go outside. I'll let them create off the dribble. We'll run some things to get some shots, but they have a lot of freedom in the offense because I don't want them to feel stifled. So everything is different, and always honestly depends on who we're playing against, and that's going to depend on like our style of play for that game offensively. But regardless of who we're playing against, we're going to play up tempo. We're going to try to score in transition. We like a fast paced game, that's for sure.
Got you. And then defensively, what's kind of the strategy? Some zone, a little bit of mix of everything, some 3-2, some 2-3, some man-to-man, some 4-1. Like, what are some things you like to do defensively with this team?
We'll play a little of everything. We'll play some zone. We'll play some man. We like to put pressure on the ball. Like I said, we like to score in transition, so you can't do that unless you're putting pressure on defense. So our biggest thing is trying to let our offense or let our defense turn into our offense.
Got you. And then from a front court, you mentioned Green. Who are some other players that front court wise that you're expecting this time to step up this year for you, whether it's in the depth perspective, whether it's coming off the bench, but who are some players you're going to be dependent on besides Green to kind of help that front court and kind of lock down there defensively and also offensively where you could feed in the post and get some easy buckets?
Yeah, I mean, we're not as big as most teams, but I do have Sydney Moss came off the bench for us and started some games last year as a freshman. So obviously she's gotten some experience. She'll come off the bench for us this year. She may start some games and just gives us a little bit of depth inside. And then I've got Sulai Zhao coming over who just transferred in, and she'll give us some depth inside as well. But we have some bigs, but we're not the biggest team. We're definitely small but mighty, I would say.
Got you. And then for you, one more question just about the offense with the backcourt. You mentioned Henderson. You mentioned kind of Micaiah Harris coming over with the depth. Again, when you're getting pressure with that front court, kind of pressure or full court pressure, excuse me. Obviously, I know you trust her to bring the ball to the court, but there's any different strategies you impose offensively when you get in like that kind of hard pressure sometimes from teams? And what do you like to more so to do? I know obviously it's easy buckets, getting in transition, but you have to run a half court offense. What's kind of the strategy with the backcourt?
Like I said, it's very free. We have so many things on offense that we run. We have some continuity sets. We have some quick hitters. It just depends on what we are strategizing for that game. But everybody on my team has the green light to handle the ball. Everybody on my team has the green light to shoot. So I think it just gives them a little bit more freedom to play when there are rules, but the rules are kind of lax on what they can do offensively. So it helps them not to think so much. I don't want them to just be just so robotic in thinking. I want them to just be free and play basketball.
Got you. And let's talk about the schedule, coach. Non-region. I mean, it seems like a gauntlet of a schedule. Westlake,
It
Langston
is.
Hughes, Madison County,
Yeah.
Hoover, Griffin. I mean, what went behind the scheduling for your girls? Is it just to kind of get you to, play those kind of teams? So then if you got to see them come postseason time, you're ready to go. Like, what went behind the strategy with just kind of the scheduling?
Like I said, handling adversity. That's the biggest thing we're dealing with this year. So if you're gonna to be the best, you got to play the best. So I think our non-region schedule is super tough because it's going to prepare us physically, mentally, on offense and defense for the end goal is we want to play in March. That's the goal, right? So we want to prepare ourselves in November and December and January so that we can play in March. And, we're not in a position like we were last year. So we schedule hard and we schedule some of the top teams because we feel like that's only going to make us better.
Got you. And then just kind of walk me through how is practices for you guys and your girls? What are some things you like to do during practice? And, from a conditioning perspective or even strength perspective, like what are some things you like to have your girls do so when they're dealing with that adversity and they can't get a shot to fall or they're fatigued or they're mentally fatigued, they can power through that. And when you're facing those tough opponents, they're able to break through that wall and kind of come through it.
Yeah, we do a lot of talk about mental toughness, a lot of drills that deal with mental toughness. The 90% of our practice is full court, so we're working on shooting the ball when we're tired, running the offense when we're tired. The energy's been great. The girls are working hard. We have practice players coming in to help us to give us different looks on offense and defense. And I just really love the energy that the girls are bringing this year. I think, like I said, we have a chip on our shoulders from last year, and this is their senior year. So it's all or nothing for them. So they're going to do whatever it takes to be playing in March.
Yep. And that goal is obviously to win a state title, correct?
Mhm,
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely.
All right. And then for you, let's look at the schedule one more time. Region schedule. Is there any teams on there that stands out in your region that, may or may not pose kind of a challenge for you guys that or some matches you're kind of looking forward to?
Yeah, I think GAC obviously as the state runner-up from last year is going to be a good game and a good opponent for us as well as Centennial for sure. I haven't got a chance to look much at last year for the rest of the teams in the region, but I definitely think those two will be some great games for us in the region this year.
Got you. A couple more questions, Coach, before I let you go. One, you mentioned diversity. You mentioned it being kind of all or nothing for your girls. But what do you think they need to do to get to ultimately where they want to be, winning that state championship, being in that game, competing at the highest level? What do they need to do this year in order to do that?
Stay in the gym, which is what they've been doing. They are in the gym at practice. They're in the gym before school. They're in the gym after school. They're in the gym on the weekends. We're in the weight room. So, like I said, staying in the gym, being able to handle adversity in practice, in games, in those hard games that we're going to play against. We're playing Langston Hughes, Luella, Woodward Academy, Hoover. Like, those are going to be our opportunities to be tested and our mental toughness to be tested and see how we respond. But I honestly think that there's not necessarily, like, you can't really test your mental toughness until you're in a position to do so, right? So I think that's why us scheduling hard is going to help us in the long run, because I can't really simulate that in practice as good as I can in the game.
Got you. Now you've been at Tennessee, you've been Pearl Cone, you've been at Discovery, excuse me. Now you're at Kell. What went behind kind of wanting to kind of coach for Kell? As you know, this is a program that's kind of been knocking on the door, just haven't been able to get there. Why did you choose Kell over maybe some other programs in the state?
Just the name in itself brings a lot of recognition. They've done obviously their boys basketball team has been successful for a while. Their girls basketball team has been successful for the past couple seasons, and then just to be able to continue that success, to be able to build a program is the biggest thing. We've got our junior program now. The numbers are increasing every year for that. So the goal is to be able to establish a long-term program here. This last year was the first year they had a JV team in I don't know how long. So we've got that going now. We've got a JV team again this year, and the community is great. The administration is great, and it's a place where you feel comfortable that people are going to support you, and you can truly build a program, which is the goal.
Got you. And this is more of a personal question for you. You've been coaching for a little bit now. You have some experience behind you. What's been the biggest challenge you ever faced just as a coach? And, when you face that challenge, how were you able to kind of battle through it and kind of get over that hump?
The biggest challenge I would say was when I was in Nashville. We played in the state championship and we lost in double overtime. So I feel like I kind of have that same motivation as my girls. I've been knocking on the door for a state championship for quite some while, so I can't say that I've necessarily gotten over the hump yet. We're still working on that, but hopefully this year can be that year.
Got you. And then last question, Coach, for you, it's kind of a two-sided question. Did you play basketball when you were in high school, and did you play at the collegiate level? And then what is your favorite thing about the sport? What kind of brought you to basketball? What was that moment you were like, yeah, I love this sport. I'm going to coach it or I'm going to play it?
I did not play in college. I went to the University of Tennessee, though. Go Vols. And I did play in high school. And I think, just like I said, the relationships, my teammates, my high school teammates, we're still all best friends to this day. And the relationships that you build with your teammates are just something different than friendships you have with just, people you meet in class or people you meet at work. It's everlasting relationships. I think that's the best thing about the sport, is the bonds that you create with your teammates.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thanks, Ms. Bailey, for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you, learning more about your Kell team. Wishing them the best, and those seniors can get to that ultimate goal of actually contending and competing for a title that you guys were just on the precipice of getting there. So, hoping you guys can get over the hump and be playing in the March. And I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on you throughout the season.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Have a good one. All right, guys. So that was Kell coach Kandra Bailey. Glad she was able to come on. A very filled segment. Hope you guys enjoyed the second episode of Keeping It Real with Najeh Wilkins. Again, it's a show centered on women's sports. We covered all three today. We did softball, we did volleyball, and we did basketball. Basketball season is right around the corner. Volleyball is wrapping up, and softball is officially over. So you guys stay tuned with me throughout the season, as I'll be covering some basketball. I'll try to reach out to a couple of coaches in different classifications, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, probably even 6A for volleyball. I'll probably try to talk to two coaches in the next segment and just volleyball alone. And then obviously we'll get another women basketball coach on here. So I hope you guys are enjoying. This is a lot of fun. I definitely enjoy having my own show and being able to come on. So thanks again to the men behind the plan. One, today, the producer, Graham David. Appreciate him producing the show and kind of giving me the platform in order to have my own, and also AJ Rosenberg. So we will see you guys next Thursday, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. See you then. Peace.